God bless. I am Minister Pedro Diaz, and I want to welcome all to today's episode of the I Am Statements Jesus Made as heard throughout the Gospel of John. There are moments in life when noise surrounds us, constant updates, never ending demands, distractions pulling in every direction. So it is easy to feel lost, not in the sense of being physically somewhere unfamiliar, but lost inside. And in those moments, hearing the right voice can make all the difference in the world. Not just a voice that talks, but one that truly speaks to where you are. That's what this message is about. For the last few weeks, we have been walking through these statements, and each one has been a revelation. We started with I am the bread of life, and we learned that Jesus doesn't simply offer something temporary. He's the one who feels the hunger that always seems to return no matter what we chase. Then came I am the light of the world, reminding us that in the middle of confusion, he doesn't just bring light, he is the light that shines upon us. He exposes what's false and helps us see what's real. And after that, we heard him say, I am the door. And we saw that through him, we don't find religion, we find refuge, direction, and belonging. And today, we come to another identity Jesus gives us in John 10:11. I am the good shepherd. At first glance, it sounds calm and simple, but this isn't a sub phrase. It is strong, it is sacrificial, and it is deeply personal. Shepherds weren't polished figures standing on ceremony. They lived in the fields, slept in danger, and kept watch when everyone else rested. So when Jesus says he's the good shepherd, he isn't offering an image for us to admire. He's offering abundant love as he watches over us. I'm sure we all know what it is to feel like to be stretched thin. You show up every day, you do what you can and still feel unseen. Whether it's trying to provide for your family, managing expectations at work, or holding things together at home when no one really knows how much pressure you're under. That feeling of being responsible for so much while no one seems to be looking out for you. That's the kind of burden the good shepherd steps into. He sees what others miss, but he doesn't just glance in our direction, he steps close. Many people today keep going without pause, constantly trying to be strong for everyone else. And sometimes, even in churches, we put on faces we think we're supposed to wear. But deep down, we want someone to care without having to explain everything. Jesus doesn't wait for us to clean it all up before he steps in. He calls himself the shepherd because he walks right into where we are and takes it on himself. He says he lays down his life for his sheep. And it is not reserved for those who have it all together. The shepherd doesn't pick the strongest one. He lays down his life because he's responsible for all of them, even the ones that wander, especially the ones that wander. And if you have ever had a moment when you felt you have gone too far, perhaps too many mistakes, too long avoiding God, too tired to try again, you're the kind of person Jesus had in mind when he said this. The shepherd doesn't leave the sheep that stray. He doesn't count losses. He pursues them, He doesn't let distance define worth. Think of all the times when life caught you off guard. A job that suddenly ended, a relationship that shifted, a plan that fell apart. In those moments, guidance matters, more than ever. We don't always need an answer. We need someone who won't walk away. That's who Jesus is. We live in a world full of substitutes. People who promise help but disappear when weight gets heavy. Systems that reward results but ignore the heart. Jesus contrasts himself with the higher hand, the one who runs when danger comes. The hired hand never stays, when the wolves show up. Jesus does. He doesn't flee when things turn ugly. He stands in the way. People, a good shepherd knows his flock, not just collectively but individually. He knows which are slower, which tend to drift, which are injured. There's no rush in his care. He doesn't push us along to meet a quota. He leads patiently. He corrects gently, and he defends fully. There's comfort in knowing you don't have to lead yourself. You don't have to guess what's next. The shepherd sees the entire field, not just the step in front of you. While we're focused on survival, he's focused on the full picture. He knows what we're heading toward, even when we can't see the next turn. And have you ever been in a season where you were doing everything right on the outside, but inside you were worn down and distant? That's not failure. That's fatigue. And the shepherd knows when you're there. He doesn't demand energy from the exhausted. He offers the rest that's needed. And there's power in the shepherd's voice. Jesus says his sheep know it, not because it's louder than every other voice, but because it doesn't sound like confusion. It cuts through the chaos. It doesn't bring shame. It brings direction. His voice doesn't rush you forward. It calls you back home. Some of you watching might be doing your best to stay hopeful, but the noise of disappointment has been louder than anything else. You have prayed, waited, you have asked, God, are you still there? And the answer is yes. The shepherd has not left. He doesn't lose sight of those who belong to him. And others, they might be holding quiet, still showing up, still serving, but unsure if you're being led at all. The shepherd hasn't changed course. He hasn't paused. Just because the path is hard doesn't mean he's absent. He's still there. He hasn't stopped leading. He's still moving with you, alongside you. You know, that kind of leadership, Jesus offers, stands in contrast to everything else the world trains us to expect. We're used to being forgotten unless we perform. We are used to being measured, but Jesus knows us and chooses us, not based on results, not based on performance, but because we are His. This message matters now more than ever. In a culture full of influencers and voices offering advice, direction, or identity, the voice of the Good Shepherd remains steady. And he's not calling you to chase another version of success. He's calling you to follow him into a life you don't have to pretend to manage alone. He isn't seasonal, he isn't selective. His care doesn't expire when we fail or fade, when we hesitate. He is consistent, present, and strong, not in theory, but in reality. He lays down his life already. And that life wasn't taken, it was given freely on purpose. You know, are you wondering, can I trust him again after all I have been through? And the answer is still yes. And not just trust him to help, but trust him to lead, to guide you through uncertainty, through pressure, through questions, to bring you into something steady. And this message it got nothing to do with religion. It is a reminder that no matter how far things have unraveled, You have a shepherd who's already stepped into your story. He isn't waiting at the finish line. He is walking every step, calling your name, guiding your heart, and defending your peace. People, if this message has reminding you of who Christ truly is, then don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who's been feeling distant or overwhelmed. There's still time to come back under the care of the one who never fails us. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next message in this series. Like this video and share it with someone who you know perhaps is navigating a hard season. You may never know how much they may need it. Until next time, keep walking with confidence, not because of what you have figured out, but because of who is leading you. And rest in this unshakable truth. When the shepherd is near, fear has no ground to stand on. God bless you.